Hey folks, with Season 3 Hype Week starting, I'm going to do a little bit of a TLDR again, same as last season. If you do like this sort of thing, please consider leaving a like on the video, leaving a comment, let me know your thoughts, what you're most excited about, and yeah, let's jump into it. So we have the Primal Hunt. We've already seen some teasers of how this works. We have a little bit more information here. The first thing is we have a patch note date, which is August 15th. So that is giving us about 5 days to go through the patch notes and figure some stuff out. This is really, really big. The next thing we have is more details about the new gameplay system, the Primal Hunt. So it seems kind of similar to like a PoE Beast Hunt or Metamorph, if you're familiar with those mechanics. But yeah, we're basically just hunting through a beast through time. They open up rifts, which seem to be like a new area. I'm not sure if these are going to be random or something. You're like going through your echo, and then there's just a rift, and then boom, you go in and do some fighting stuff. But anyway, while you're in this area, the monsters are going to be dropping bones, which is kind of like the currency for this new system. And those bones you're going to be using along with some of the other new materials to get the new items that you want. So yeah, you go through the cave, you fight the monsters, you do the evolution thing. Get into that in a bit. So there we have the Rift Beasts. So that's going to be the encounter that you are actually fighting. And here you can see what it looks like when you're leveling it up. So you have a menu kind of similar to the Nemesis menu where you're doing Empower, except there's a lot more stuff going on. So you see 0 of 6. It looks like this one has the 6 evolution. You see evolution and lineage. And then you have your options you're selecting. You have the guaranteed loot. One of these, whatever it is you want, you're picking. I'm guessing to swap resources later on, it's going to cost more. Like you're going to lose some by swapping. So whatever it is you're trying to build, you're going to want to look up the materials it takes, figure that out. And then you're picking materials that help you build that item or currency or whatever it is that you want to buy. This will be important. These also make it stronger in certain ways. So maybe your character is not that strong. You might want to choose the thing that lets you actually kill it. It seems like this might be a high single target league. Like if you can just blast these bosses, all of the deadly stuff might not matter as much. I don't know if there's going to be like defensive mechanics they have, but and then you can just end. So if you have the first few are kind of bad or whatever, you can just end it and start new and try and build a new bear. Evolutions, we talk a bit more about it. It seems like after you do the first set of evolutions, there is like a secondary one with more evolutions. At least that's how I'm reading this. But yeah, it seems like you'll just be able to empower it a bunch, make it really strong, and then potentially get really cool rewards. So that looks pretty good. We can see some of the new currencies here. These are what you're building items with. So you fight a bunch of animals, you put their parts together, and there you go. This is what you get. The new shop. You can see the currencies here at the bottom. This is how many you have. So I'm guessing there's the dedicated stash. You're probably going to just send these items to the stash so you don't have to like carry them around or anything. At least that's my guess. You can see you can actually buy those currencies here. So you're trading, you're able to exchange one for another, probably at some like diminished rate. You can see the new rune that we have here, the Rune of Evolution. Get on to that in a second. And then you see a bunch of uniques here. So I think this is really interesting. So just digging into that, a lot of these uniques look really familiar. So like here we have Static Shell, we have Wings of Argentus, we have Fractured Crown, and a couple like base type items here with a little bit of like a visual difference. It's possible that these are reskins from asset reuse, like they're just reusing something they already have. But I think they're a little bit too similar. My guess is that these have some theme that's similar to the item that they're based off, and maybe they work a little differently. Maybe they're stronger. Maybe if you're playing a build that doesn't make use of one of the new uniques or primordial exalts or whatever, if you can use one of the stronger versions of a unique you might use anyway, that could be an option, or maybe it's just a completely different alternative. That would be cool. I'm really interested to see what this Fractured Crown reskin thing does. If this is some sort of like really powerful mana unique, that would be cool. I think Fractured Crown's a really cool item, so more of that would be nice. But yeah, this is how you're getting your items. It seems kind of deterministic, which is cool. So you'll be able to get these hopefully fairly early on. And then you have goodie bags here that might have some assorted stuff. You can see there's a little symbol on it. I don't know if that's relevant to what they're giving you, but yeah, a lot of cool stuff here. So then back we go. We have a little bit more details about how it works. So we do know that they will roll for LP when you buy them. So there still is a chance of getting LP. They're probably going to have some LP level internal to the items. So yeah, you'll be able to get your slams on these items just like regular uniques. Then moving on to the primordial items. So another thing that we're learning in this post is that primordial items themselves are one per character. So you can't have a unique primordial and an exalt item primordial. You have to choose one or the other. So if you have a build that really needs one of these, you're going to miss out on a powerful T8 affix. So anyway, we have the Rune of Evolution. This is really cool. This is how you're making your primordial exalts. So the T8, it'll have 50 to 100% more power than a T7. It is going to have a random aspect, so I think it might be really hard to make a good one of these. Similar to the Eternal Crash Slam we have now. If you have one T7, this is deterministic. If you have multiple, so for deep min-maxing, it'll be random. What this will look like is you have an item that you like that might have a T7. You might want to craft on an affix you want, do Rune of Havoc to get that affix as a T7, and then upgrade it into a T8. So that's probably what like the super lowest level of crafting steps would be if you just want a good T8. And then from there, you can craft the other affixes up to like T5 or whatever, do your Runes of Havoc and all that. For endgame min-maxing, I think this is going to be a bit harder because you have like a double or triple T7 or something like that. You will have to have your RNG, hoping that you get the right affix. If you don't, you need to find another item and try again. So I think this will be similarly challenging as the current slamming multi T7s into uniques and stuff, but that's okay. For like min-maxing of that level, that doesn't really seem like too big of a deal. The other thing that we've learned about this is that you cannot slam these, so you can't put these onto a unique. This will be exclusive. It is sealed, and it's a separate seal than the normal like despair sealing. So if you have your item with the T7, you seal this. It's now moved into its own seal slot. And then you could seal another affix, like a T2 or whatever. And then you have a 6 affix exalted item with this. One thing that has been confirmed on Reddit is you can use this on set reforge shards. There's a lot of different options there of set shards that you could boost up to T8. If you're building around a certain set, that could be really strong. I haven't seen if it's an option for experimentals, but if it is, that'll be stupidly powerful. There's some really crazy experimental affixes. So first, just Reforge. If you're trying to figure out what you want to play, I would strongly recommend going through this list, looking at all the affix shards, and then trying to figure out what might be a really strong interaction. So just a completely random example, that's something that could be interesting. Last season, I had my Strength Mage build. We used the Storm Crown. We got shock chance per int. This is a scaling modifier. If you're building around something that scales, getting better scaling is huge. So if I had this and then I could get, for example, 2% shock chance per int, that would give my builds like 30% more damage or 40 or whatever, something like that. So just go through all these affixes and try and come up with your own combos. And then, as I said, experimentals, if it works with those, it'll be extremely strong. So we have something like this. Armor mitigation applies to damage over time. If you have this on a Eternal Gauntlet base that already has that as the implicit, and then you have this with like a T8 and you're stacking armor, you could potentially mitigate almost all of the DOT in the same way you would do with hits with armor. That would be extremely powerful if that's an option. You have bees. Everybody loves bees. Get even more bees potentially if you can do it. We have like frenzy and haste effect. These are quite strong as well. Minions, if you do minion stuff, even more of these could be really cool depending on what you're playing. Some sort of zoo build. The potion thing, potentially cool, even more traversal recovery. Ward gain on traversal. So this is one that I think could potentially be extremely strong with the right build if this is your priority T8 affix. So right now it's 25 ward gain per 10 missing mana. So if you are missing, for example, 2,000 mana, every traversal you use would give you 5,000 ward. So every couple seconds you get 5,000 ward. If T8 of this is twice as strong, if you were getting 50 per 10 missing, for example, that would mean that you're getting 10,000 ward if you're missing 2,000 mana. So that would be pretty strong if you built around it. So yeah, just some thoughts here. Ward per missing health. They are already adding some low life support. So potentially, if you're playing a low life build and you can do T8s on experimentals, something like this would be very strong. If you could get like 40% missing health gained as ward per second with that, maybe if you're a mage, you have reactive ward, and the chest piece and the boots, you could potentially get 70 or 80% health as ward per second. So that's also potentially very strong if it does work that way. A little bit more details on the Twitch drop campaign. Unfortunately, as I said, I will be out of country when when 1.3 launches, so I won't be streaming. A lot of great content creators for you guys to follow on Twitch. Make sure you get them when the league drops. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.